that is very concerning.
You could have been the champion, man.
Sorry, I have to pee.
How can I play an MVC game without Cyclops in it?
Now you can see I'm not a criminal, you son of a... Hey everybody, welcome to a video game podcast. You searched for it and you got it. So we got your three hosts here. You got me, Shesez, we got Asterios, and LimeJinjo, all hitting you with topics that are evergreen. You can listen to this anytime in your life, and it should be a fun podcast to listen to while you're at work or doing studying or whatever. So today, we got a series of topics that Asterios wrote down. They were pretty good, and I'm pretty excited to talk about them. And so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to pass it over to him, and he's going to get us started on our first topic. So, Asterios, what are we going to be talking about first?
Look, I think we ought to lead off with a little segment that I call Tourney Journeys. That's how you say journeys, right? Journeys? Journeys? Tourney Journeys.
At first, I had no idea what you were talking about, but maybe for the people at home.
Jinjo, can you have, it pop up on screen when I say Tourney Journey? Can you help me?
So then they'll look at the word and be like, oh, he meant the word journey, like the band.
Yeah, not Journey.
Journey, it sounds too close to, jorts or something. It makes me think pants for some reason.
Oh man, when I worked at a women's golf clothing club, all I did was fold skorts after skorts after skorts. A skirt with shorts in it. But speaking of short, let's keep this intro short and get to Tourney Journeys, which is we're just going to tell little stories of times we've done video game tournaments and we've been in video game competitions, or maybe things got too competitive between us and our friends. I have never done the thing where I'm like, oh, I'm going to enter in a Smash tournament, or I'm going to travel across the thing for a Smash tournament. But I've been in some weird little tournaments that I'd like to tell you guys about a little bit later. Because first, I want to hear from Shesez. I hear you're like the tourney king.
Well, I have lots and lots of stories. You mentioned heated moments with friends and stuff. That certainly has happened. But tournaments too. I've won tournaments. I actually have.
What?
This was not decided ahead of time. I actually just happen to have this right next to me. I have the Smash Bros Local Legend of Wreckage trophy that was given to me by winning the Super Smash Bros Brawl midnight release tournament for the game.
And what character is that supposed to be? Is that Mario?
Yeah.
Is that Little Mac?
At this point, he's closest to Wii Fit Trainer, but he wasn't a character at the time, so...
That must be Snake.
No! That is not Solid Snake.
Yeah, it could be Solid Snake. He's in the sneaking pose. He's about to sneak up on you or something.
Definitely.
Cheapest trophy of all time. Clearly not sanctioned by Nintendo, it seemed like. But yeah, it's cool to have a trophy for something that I did right in my life. So that's kind of cool. And so like I said, it was before Super Smash Bros. Brawl was about to release. Everybody was waiting in line to get their midnight release copy. Over 60 people were there, and they were all basically administered into this tournament before midnight hit. And so, while we were waiting for the 3 hours before being let into the store to even buy our copies, we're all just doing one-on-one matches on the demo kiosk that Nintendo provided. And I did all my research, and even though I would never pick this character for me personally, I heard that Ike was the noob tube, basically, of their time, where you didn't have to do much, but if you got caught up in Ike's attacks, you would just get KO'd very, very quickly, 3 or 4 hits tops, and you would die. So I just took that advice, and I tried using Ike, and I was just clearing out over 60 contestants in this game, and it got to the point where it was midnight, everybody got their game. I had 2 friends that were hanging out with me that night, and I was stuck. I was stuck playing against people the whole freaking night, and it got to a point where I was like, guys, just go to my house, go play the game, get it started, go have fun. And they took me up on that offer and just went to my house without me. And I was stuck there till 3 a.m. fighting people to win this crappy trophy. So yeah, that was the first tournament I ever won. And
She says, I'd like to jump in and ask you a follow-up question on this.
Yeah.
Did you consider throwing just to get some sleep?
Yes. And not even to sleep. I just wanted to get my file started in Smash Bros Brawl. I was super hyped for this game. But I was just like, it's getting late, dude. I don't know if I want to keep this going. But they assured me, they was like, oh, there's only like 8 people left. You could totally like get this done within the hour. So yeah, I stuck around and I ended up winning it. And I'll tell you this, if you think that I'm gloating here, I'll give you a slice of humble pie on top of this. After you win this tournament, you went to the regional tournament, and I could have prepared for this, we all basically kind of had an idea that they were just going to use the Wii Remote and Nunchuck, even though that's a terrible control scheme for a fighting game. But you know, I was like, no, I just want to play Smash. I want to play Smash Brothers and just play it the way that I want to play it, which you could play with the GameCube controller. So naturally, the entire 2 weeks before the regional tournament, I was just using the GameCube controller, and I show up to this tournament. And like, you know, there's other people from other areas that, you know, showed up to this thing that also won. And we start talking amongst each other, and they were like, yeah, so how many people are at your tournament and this and that? And so people asked me, and I was like, yeah, there was like 60 people. And so everybody was just shocked. They were like, 60 people? Whoa. And like, so, and they were like, what character did you use? And I explained the whole same thing that I said to you guys about Ike, and how it was just like an easy pick because of the fact that he would kind of win out the roster if everyone was inexperienced. And so like they were kind of like blown away by that. They were like, this guy does his research. And you know, so literally it was starting to kind of like bellow that it was just like, I'd be worried about this guy. This guy's going to be good and all this stuff. First match. Again, this kid trained that whole 2 weeks with the Wii Remote Nunchuck. I did not. He just completely stomped me, and everybody that was expecting me to like get to the end of this tournament saw me lose in like the second match that they ever put on for this tournament. So, and I even heard someone go like, damn, I was wrong.
I hate hearing things like that. You know how many times I've walked away at a stand-up show and I've just heard someone whisper like, well, that guy didn't do well. And it's like, you know, I don't need like VO in my life. Like, I'm not looking for additional Foley lines, like off-screen jokes to be added to my life. I'm sure Jinjo knows the answer to this, but like, is the nunchuck faster? Or like, I don't really understand the difference between the nunchuck and the GameCube controller.
So it actually just has a more awkward button layout. So it's workable. It's not like the worst control scheme. The worst one would be just holding the Wii Remote sideways. They literally gave you every option to play this game. But
that's how I played it as a kid. Was sideways.
Did you really?
Wiimote. I don't. Well, really? I was when Brawl came out. It was like 2008. So I was like 6 when that game came out. So I didn't know about smash attacks. I just know push the buttons to attack and jump around. I can't even imagine how that game plays with a sideways Wii Remote. But yeah, that's how I played it. Like the whole time I played Brawl.
You poor soul. I mean, yeah, that's like easily the worst way to play any Smash game ever. So yeah, thankfully we didn't have to do that. You know, with the Wii Remote, you can use like analog control, which is nice. I think it's with the Z button, which is on the nunchuck. You can hold out your shield. And with the A button, I think it's like regular attacks. And with the trigger B button, you can use like the special attacks. And so I'm not sure if there was actually an option to be able to button press your jumps, which was not the worst thing for me. Like I use the analog stick mostly to jump anyway. I'm kind of like a hybrid of both. And yeah, it still was just too cumbersome and weird because I just spent like literally decades honing my craft on the GameCube controller, because you start off on the Super Smash Bros. Melee and you play that for years until Brawl finally makes its debut, and that's all you know. That's what you're so comfortable with. So yeah, that was definitely something that set me way, way back. On top of the fact that they used items in this tournament too, and I didn't train for any of that stuff. So yeah.
You're telling me they changed things up on you. You're telling me they rigged this thing. All of a sudden, you're getting hit with Nintendo zappers, and the guy's got the hammer. You're not training for POW blocks.
Exactly. Yeah. I'll just take the L. I'll take it graciously. Yeah, the tournament scene changed drastically since that tournament, and just leave it at that. I got this. This is proof that I can at least take down 60 people. That's pretty cool.
That's coming out with a W to have a trophy like that. But I have a follow-up question as well.
Okay.
The night that you were at the GameStop or whatever, you fought the 60 people, and you told your friends, go to my house. When you got home at like 3 a.m., did your friends ransack your fridge?
Yes, did they? Was there any food left? Did they break into the beer?
So.
Oh,
I think we had beer. I think we did. Yeah, it was like we were trying to make it into like a whole thing. So there was like, the family size bag of Doritos, there was the beers, and they were already like drunken flies by the time I got there. So like, they were like, yeah, we played a little bit of the single player game. It was good. Like, that's cool, man. Yeah, we're pretty tired though. Like, yeah.
I'm just
Look what I got,
your
guys.
mom.
And they're like, wow, that thing looks stupid. Like, yeah, thanks.
Hey, it doesn't look stupid. It's great. I'm just imagining your mom being like, I would prefer that they get drunk and play Smash here where I can keep my eyes on them than be drunk and playing Smash in some random house.
She pretty much has said that. She was just like, I'd rather you guys be, hanging out here playing video games than ruining your lives in some space that I can't see you, So, like, I'm not that she wouldn't let me do that or anything like that. I wasn't like that tight on like my parents' leash or anything, but they just, expressed that they appreciate that they had nerds hanging out in their house all the time. So, it worked out pretty good.
Yeah, exactly. Look,
what about all
look at
you?
you now. It worked out great. Well, look, I was going to tell you about my mom because my mom factors well into my tourney journey, which is like, I'm old. So I'm 42 years old. Listeners, I'm the oldest thing you've ever seen. You know that beach from that M. Night Shyamalan movie? It's like life's that beach for me.
Oh my God. Well, I was just going to say, dude, I mean, I'm right up there with you. I got carded by a Target employee, and for whatever reason, she just had the worst. I don't know. She had something up her butt. I mean, literally, like, I was just like, yeah, you need to see my card. That's all I said to her. And then she goes, yeah, they force us to do it, like, as if I need to check it. You're old. You're really effing old.
No!
And I'm like, jeez.
Why?
No. I worked at Round 1, which is like, it's like Dave & Buster's, but it's from Japan. So they have more Japanese arcade games, but it's still very... Just think of Dave & Buster's, except they have a small fighting game section that they're progressively getting rid of. But
They had Melty Blood.
Yes, they did, and that's why I worked there. I worked at the bar and food area, and it was our policy to card every single person, no matter what. There would be like an 80-year-old man coming up, and I'd be like, bruh, you gotta show me your ID. But I never said it like that, like, you're so clearly old and decrepit, and you could die at any moment. But I need to see your ID. Like, if they, like, most people, I just be like, can I see your ID? And then they'd hand it to me. But if, like, the person was making a joke, like, huh, can't you see I'm old as dirt? I'd be like, I know, like, it's, I wouldn't say I know, but I'd be like, it's policy. Sir. It's policy. I have to card everyone.
Dude, there was this one time, it was like literally my second day on the job at Toys R Us. Yeah. They told us we had to card everybody that uses their debit card or something. And so a like really old man, 70 to 80 years old, comes through the checkout lane. And I go, are you using debit? And he's like, yes. And I go, I'll have to check your card real quick. And he goes like, and I'm like, thank you. And he goes, now you can see I'm not a criminal, you son of a bit, And I'm like, geez, man. And like, I was like,
a kid can be a kid and an old man can yell at a teenager.
What was
yell
this
at
guy?
a kid,
Where
right?
did he think he
I was
was
young. And
was
my
Toys R
boss
Us,
could see that I
bro.
was like traumatized. Yeah.
That's sad.
He's like, grab a soda. Let's talk about it. You can grab a
like
Coke.
your guidance counselor turns the chair around to say,
Yeah.
She says, how was your day today?
Yeah,
well, look,
like,
speaking of retail stores, this is where I've only been in 2 tourneys in my life. Now, you've heard of Walmart, you've heard of Target, you guys know all the stores, but kids, there used to be a store called Caldor. And if you've never heard of it before, don't worry, you'll never hear of it again. And I was walking around Caldor looking at the toy section, and then there's a bunch of people playing regular Nintendo, and there's like a crowd. And there's a guy in a Nintendo polo shirt, and I can still remember like the red pill-shaped Nintendo logo on his polo shirt, because I remember seeing it and immediately being like, I want that polo shirt. Like, sir, can I please have your polo shirt? And as listeners have probably determined by now, it was that, I don't know the name of it, but I know there's like a famous, like Jinjo, there's a famous gold Nintendo cartridge.
Nintendo World Championships.
Yeah, she says, what is this thing? What was it called?
It was called the Nintendo World Championships. They had like a whole tournament that involved special carts made by Nintendo that had like bite-sized versions of like I think like 4 to 5 different games. Not all of them were officially licensed by Nintendo, I don't think.
Yeah,
like
Rad Racer was
one
there.
of them.
Yeah, wasn't that Square Enix or just Square?
It was, and yeah, so like they would have to basically achieve a score. And then once they achieved the score, they would move on to the next game. I believe that's how it worked. And they would use those carts to compete with one another. Did I get something quite a little bit off?
I played it recently, like 2 months ago.
You did?
For the first time, I legally acquired this game, this $1,000 cartridge, and I played it on my original Nintendo Entertainment System. So what it was the first game is Super Mario Bros. And I think you gotta get like 100 coins. And you just go until you get 100 coins. So I think the strategy to do it the fastest was to go to the warp zone in like level 1, grab all the coins, and then kill yourself, and then do it over and over again. I think, and then the next level is Rad Racer, and you just have to race a certain amount of meters. And then after that, and those give you like no points, and the whole thing is to have the high score. So basically the strategy for Mario and Rad Racer is to do it as quick as possible. Don't bother with getting any extra points there. And then you spend the rest of the 5 minutes that you had left playing Tetris and trying to get as many points in Tetris as possible. So then if you did everything correctly, you'd have about 2 minutes and 50 seconds to get as many Tetri as possible.
Yeah. And that's cool that you saw like merch from that, because I was just going to add to that by saying like back in those days, like the early NES days and Super Nintendo days even, like Nintendo merchandise was kind of scant. There wasn't a lot of it. Like you could find like a bootleg looking Donkey Kong plush if you're lucky. But like it's not like how it is today where you can go into literally any like superstore like Walmart or Target or whatever and find like, you know, video game merch of like almost any video game that's like relevant these days. Back then it was like, you know, the toy department had nothing resembling video game stuff, and you know, tie-in stuff with McDonald's and all that. It was incredibly rare. So it wasn't like it tied in with every new video game release. It was like, yeah, we're going to cover Mario this one time, and then we're going to move on to Batman Returns or something like that. So it was like, if you saw like someone wearing a Nintendo shirt, there's a reason why it was striking to you, I'm sure, because again, you just never see it, right?
Well, that must be like everything you guys just told me unlocked additional memories I didn't know I had. Like, because I wasn't like reading about it in Nintendo Power and like, oh, in the newspaper it says it's going to be a like I'm looking at action figures. I'm seeing kids play Nintendo, and I see this guy with this shirt. You're right, because that must be why it really stuck out to me. And I grabbed the controller. I went online, I grabbed the controller. My mom's like, yeah, look, we got to go. And so I'm like, but I want to play video games. And so I just ran around as Mario. The guy told me it's based on points. So I remember thinking like, oh, then I got to like kill a bunch of stuff and get a bunch of coins. Because I remember seeing other kids like going through as fast as possible. I don't know if this is true, but I just remember seeing a kid going to board 1, 2 and going to the warp zones, you know, when you jump up on the thing and run on the thing and it's like 3, 4, and 5. And I remember like thinking to myself, like, don't do that. This is not a distance competition, because as a kid, I don't care about getting coins. It's like, if I want extra lives, I know I can do the thing where you jump on the shell 1,000,000 times. You guys know that trick, right?
Yeah, the infinite 1-up.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm like, so I remember being like, okay, I guess I got to find coins. Yeah, there are some down there. And then I remember playing Tetris and Tetris and Tetris. Bottom line, I win the thing. Like, I win the tournament that day at Caldor, like on Long Island, at a tiny store. And the guy's like, we're going to take down your name because you're going to move on to the next thing. And my mom was like, no, he's not. She's like, grabbed me. She just got me the hell out of there.
Come on, Mom.
You could have been the champion, man.
I could have done that power glove thing from the
wizard. You could have been the wizard, dude.
Oh my God, I remember seeing those commercials for the wizard and seeing that glove and being like, this would make me a better video gamer if I had this glove. Like, it's funny because we all grew up so disappointed. Like, now to you, Jinjo, to your generation, the glove is probably like a meme, right? Where it's like, why would you do this? It's terrible looking.
Well, I always thought growing up, oh, the power glove, it must have been like motion based or something, but I guess it's not. It's literally just wearing a controller and it doesn't do anything for you.
No, it's motion based.
It's motion based?
It's actually, I think it might be, I think it's IR based. So you have like IR sensors, much like the Wii remotes and the sensor bar and all that. And like it barely functions, but its whole intent is like, you know, you move it across the sensor bar and it's inputting to the controller like, oh, he moved over to the right. So now move Mario to the right and stuff. It was very, so very finicky.
Was there games for it, or were you just supposed to play normal games with it?
Yeah, there was something called Glove Ball, I believe, made by Mattel. So, yeah, you would move the hand over and you'd like grab the ball. And, you know, I never played it myself, but I know of it. Yeah.
That's very
the idea behind Glove Ball, Jinjo, like imagine this. Imagine you like are throwing a tennis ball at a wall, and every time the ball hits the wall, it deletes a brick or two. So it's like it's kind of like Arkanoid but flat. And so in the commercials, at least, you could use the glove to grab the ball. It would come at the screen. You could grab it, trap it in your hand, and then release it somewhere else. In reality, of course, it doesn't work. It didn't work. It don't work. It's a piece of garbage. But they sold us on the dream of it, at least.
Yeah.
That's probably why the Wii was so successful, because it was the first time where they like sold a dream, and the dream actually was mostly functioning.
Yeah. Until we got the Skyward Sword.
Yeah.
Then it was.
Then we needed Wii Motion Plus. Then the dream was more functioning.
God, I remember that was like the... Go ahead.
Oh, no, she says, what were you going to say? I want to hear you.
I was just going to say with Skyward Sword, I just remember being in those forums during that time and like trying to say like, this game doesn't even work. Like I'm like doing the sword swings and stuff. And I remember people on the forums getting mad at me because they were like, really, bro? You're doing full on sword swings? What do you think this is? I was like, dude, it's a game that's telling me to swing it like a sword. Why would I think to do it like a, you know, baton instructor, you know? Yeah, like I'm like a conductor or something. Plus, it doesn't even feel immersive when you play it that way. So it just kind of, yeah. And I didn't know that was a thing until I complained about it. Otherwise, I would have never thought to even do that. You know, just like do very small gingerly gestures to do sword swiping. So, yeah, that's my little rant on Skyward Sword.
Right, because it's not a video game about swinging a very tiny sword. It's a big sword. Like, you should be making huge, big X's and things. I remember when I got home, I was up until 3 a.m. at Universal City Walk waiting to buy a Wii. And there was a line like all the way out in the parking lot. And then when we got home, we played that surgery game.
Oh,
and I remember being
Trauma Center.
Yeah, I remember being like, "Oh my God, they did it." Because I'm doing surgery and the motion controls are working. And I remember thinking to myself, like, they fit. Because my whole life I'm taught, like, oh, there's a thing called the U-Force. It's like a weird, like, it looks like football uprights and it responds to your hand. Like, they were like trying to sell us on the idea of like these motion control things my whole life. And I'm like, I'm saving a little girl's life with surgery at 3 a.m. Look at me over here.
Oh my God.
Jinjo, like, look, it's Torny Jornies, Jinjo. It's Torny Jornies. Like, tell us about a time that you were getting a little bit competitive with the games and all that.
Well, I've only ever been to 2 tournaments, so I can't really one-up either of you. Like, she says, you have an excellent story, you have that beautiful Solid Snake trophy. And then Asterios, like, you going to the Nintendo World Championships to me is, like, crazy, because, like, as a 22-year-old, the Nintendo World Championships is like a historical event to me. So it's like seeing Nirvana perform live or World War II, you know? It's like things that happened, but it's hard for me to really think in my brain, wow, that really happened and people were alive to see that at some point. So it's crazy that you were like there for the Nintendo World Championships, this historic event. I've been to, like, I say 2. I feel like it's been 3 and I can only remember 2, but I went to a tournament for Smash 4 at some local school, even though I was homeschooled. I was invited by someone else I knew, and I got second, but the person I knew beat me because he was better than me. I think he picked Olimar, and he was a beast with Olimar. Oh, no. I always played Toon Link in that game. One of the only things I remember from this tournament was there was a smaller boy. I was probably, when that game came out, I think I was like 13 or 14 at the time of that tournament. There was this kid that was probably 10, and he did pick Ike. So this also involves Ike. But his whole strategy, and he had beaten multiple people to even get to fight me with this strategy, was he would use Ike's like charging side B attack where he like holds the sword like this and he goes forward. And he'd just do that over from one side of the stage to the other. And he'd keep doing that. And no one knew how to counter it. So what I did was he tried to do it on me.
His science was too tight. Wait, what did you do? Sorry.
I just shielded it and then punished every single time. And he got mad because he was like a 10-year-old, but it's like, dude, I'm here to win. I want to try and win. I don't want to lose to someone spamming side B as Ike. What's going on here? So yeah, no one knew how to counter that, and then I did. And then I went to a tournament in college where you could win a Nintendo Switch. But I was in college, so I didn't have time to practice. I had to study. So I only practiced a small amount. I played banjo. This guy picked Palutena, and he opened a can of whoop butt on me, dude. This guy, I can't believe this guy whooped me with Palutena, because I think in Smash 4 she was like trash, and then in Ultimate she was like pretty high tier, I think. She had crazy range on like all of her neutrals and her up smash. So yeah, he beat me. But I guess he got out because in like the college game club Discord server, this guy who had said he never played Smash before won. He won the free Switch. So I think like somehow I just left after I lost because I wasn't friends with anyone there. I just went back to my room and did something else for the rest of the night. But I guess this guy, somehow the whole rest of the competition that was like actually good, the game got wiped out, and it was him and some other noob in the finals, and he won. And he won a free Switch.
Go to college, kids. You see, get your education, go to school. You might win a free video game system.
Exactly.
Now, I apologize because you're going to hear a lot of questions like, is Ike short for Kid Icarus? Who's Ike?
Ike is Ike. He's from Fire Emblem Path of Radiance for the GameCube. It's like $250 Fire Emblem game.
Oh, okay. I always hear that there's this one Fire Emblem game that's like really rare. So I'm
it's
guessing
Path of Radiance.
Yeah, because I've heard about that. Because I remember this one time I was friends with a girl, and like a guy gave her the game to like try to get a date with her. I'm not kidding. It was that stupid.
I've never tried that before.
Bro gave up his copy of Path of Radiance for a woman? Oh, nah. Couldn't be me. I worked hard for that copy of Path of Radiance. I own that game because I went to there's this game store that like they have multiple locations in the Midwest, a disc replay. And I got Path of Radiance like a year ago because they had this copy there for like over a year. And it was a pretty good price naturally. But they have this system where if you go to the same disc replay and enter your phone number in this little terminal they have 10 times, you eventually will get a 20% off coupon. So what I did was I got that coupon, but also I went to GameStop the day before and they had a buy two, get one free deal on specific Xbox and PS4 games. So I bought 2 games I actually cared about, and then I got Alan Wake Remastered. And I took this copy of Alan Wake Remastered, and the next day I went to Disc Replay. I gave them this box copy of Alan Wake Remastered. I gave them my coupon, and I was like, now you gotta give me Path of Radiance for less than $100.
Oh my God!
With the manual and everything. It was the greatest move I've ever pulled. It's my greatest purchase, because I did it so smartly. I'm very proud of that. I still haven't played Path of Radiance. I'm not a turn-based guy. I just like the GameCube, so I had to get it.
So with me, I had a buddy that just got it for free, and I was like, "Oh!" I did not let him know how much it was worth. I just said, "Oh man, I've been wanting to play that forever. Do you think you'd sell it to me for $50?"
Yeah.
He was like, $50? Yeah, sure. So he gave me the $50, and I'm like, "It's mine now." Although karma really bit me back hard, dude. So I played that on original hardware. For some reason, while trying to get through that game, and I was more than halfway through it at this point, and it is not a short game, my entire memory card got corrupted. And so decades and decades and decades of GameCube memory data from like Super Smash Bros. Melee, Metroid Prime, everything, like all of it gone. So yeah.
Your life's work!
Exactly.
Destroyed,
Destroyed, man. Yeah, like I felt my soul just suck out of my body at that moment. I couldn't believe, I was like, there's got to be a way to recover this, and obviously there's not. So I was just completely, that game was cursed. It destroyed my memory card. So thanks, Path
I'd never
of
play
Radiance.
it again.
Yeah, thank you guys for telling me the name of this. I only know it as the game a guy tried to give a friend of mine to get a date. Then she was like, no, I'm not really interested in dating you. And then he demanded it back. And she had to give him this game back.
I can't blame him.
Wow, Jinjo, wow.
I can't blame him. If I gave this sexy woman my copy of Path of Radiance and she was like, it's still not enough, I'd be like, give it back then.
Yeah,
That's a really expensive game. Have you seen pricecharting.com for that thing?
I'm trying to explain to these people. I'm like, you understand, life is not like Stardew Valley, right? Like, you can't give someone a geode and then they like you. Like, there's more to it than that.
You have to, it's like you give them the Path of Radiance as the will you marry me? Like, get on one knee. Instead of a ring.
You open up the box of rings inside, yeah. Whoa, watch out, that might
it's just
scratch
a regular
the disc.
copy of Path of Radiance. Why are you on your knee? Open up the ring.
Yeah.
I do.
The ring is
and
the
that's how
disc.
you get them.
And you put
can't
the
just,
disc on the finger, yeah.
You can't just be like, here's Path of Radiance. Will you be my girlfriend now? Unfortunately, it doesn't
Now,
work.
are we sure that's how it went down? Because it could have been like he's just like, oh, I really like you. And they're talking, they're going back and forth, and then he's like, have you ever played Path of Radiance? She's like, no, I haven't. I'd love to play it though. And then he's like, oh, well, yeah, you should have it. I got a copy. You should check it out. And then he's doing all this because he's into her, and then she's like, oh my god, thank you so much. Me and my boyfriend will love this. So
Stacy,
dun,
She sounded a lot like Miss Piggy.
Yeah, he's like,
me and
yeah, thanks for the
Kirby
game.
are going to love playing this.
What? You and who?
I just love that the moment
Thank you so much.
the moment she just said Miss Piggy, 3 terrible Miss Piggy impressions immediately start.
Whoa, hold on. I can do a
But
pretty
she
good
says
Miss
has a good
Piggy.
Miss Piggy
All right,
impression.
let's go. Let's do it. Round robin. Let's go. She says, take us there.
Thanks for Path of Radiance, Kirby. It's a great game, Frog. So there you go.
It's so good. It's so
that's-
good. I don't want you to
No, I'm
want to.
passing.
Serious. Yeah,
No, I was. We both had the same thought. We were like, no.
I can't, because if I
Pass.
do it right
Yeah.
after him, then it's just like, wow, this guy sucks.
Yeah, keep my girlfriend's name out of your mouth.
He's a good guy too. We can't beat him.
You see the black
Keep
stick?
my wife's name out of your gosh darn mouth.
All right, well, listen, speaking of path, I'm hoping that you guys can help me unlock some neural pathways for this next story. Very similar story. I am in Caldor again. And I guess Nintendo just liked this Caldor.
So Caldor is like an electronics store?
No, it's Target or Walmart. It was just a It was a department store, a general merchandise store.
Because every time you say Caldor, that doesn't sound like a department store to me. That sounds like a location in a Tolkien novel or something.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing.
We have to travel to the distant land of Caldor.
It was very far away. It was a half hour away. But it was the only place that sold electronics. I'm walking around and the Caldor's there going, Caldor, 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 holding the Caldor. And there is a Starfox tournament happening. And I was very good at Starfox. Little kids, let me give you a little secret. You don't have to stop barrel rolling ever. You can just keep barrel rolling. And I'm playing Starfox.
Thanks, Peppy.
And I'm, yeah, exactly. And I'm doing barrel roll after barrel after barrel. And I'm shooting down all these guys. And then I think I definitely won a little pin that was shaped like an R-wing. And I think they also gave me a jacket. And I remember being like, cool, a jacket. I'm going to wear this forever. It was like so thin. It was like made of like tissue paper. Like when Homer Simpson wore that jacket from the bowling alley and it melted in the rain. Was there a like big Starfox tournament like this with pins? There was?
There was, and I'm really jealous that you won that jacket. That's incredible. So again, I've only heard about it from the Elder Scrolls, but they say that there was once a tournament, and they have like this. Once again, Nintendo made tournament cart for it that was meant for competitions and stuff. And I don't remember the rules of that particular tournament, but it was the Super Nintendo Star Fox. Yeah. And yeah, they competed for that jacket. So again, you basically participated in, I think there was only 2. And so you participated in both officially sanctioned Nintendo tournaments that were back in the 90s.
There was a Donkey Kong Country one as well.
There was? Okay.
Yeah. I would have lost that immediately. Those barrels scare me. You know, I'm now realizing, she says, that maybe I wasn't at these places by accident. Maybe my mom was bringing me to them and, like, just not telling me. Like, maybe this was like a Santa situation. Like, wow, look, I already think my mom is pretty base, but I gotta hug her even tighter tonight. Like, these are crazy. I always assumed that I was always, like, in my mind, I'm always like, did these things happen? I remember them happening, but I also remember being friends with ghosts as a kid. So maybe these things didn't happen.
Do you still have the jacket?
No, because we didn't I grew out of it. Like I think I was 12 or 13 because I remember being very excited about the Super FX chip. Mm-hmm. Is that it?
FX Stunt Racer FX, yep. One of the greatest games ever made. The cars have eyes. They're very cute.
There was some chip that I was supposed to have. Like, I remember seeing commercials for the chip.
Your camera went away, and we see your Google right now. Was that on purpose?
Really?
Yeah.
I thought he was doing this on purpose. I swear to God.
You're floating Google Chrome tab.
Oh, my God. I'm so sorry.
She says, actually, I'm going to change our topic real quick. She says, have you also noticed that Plaid is back?
Plaid is back?
Yes.
I'm bringing it back.
For the first time in 20 years, Plaid is now cool again. I own so many American Apparel plaids. I own so many Lucky plaids like 20 years ago. And then I kept wearing all these plaids and people are making fun of me because they're like, we're not doing plaids anymore. Now we're doing those shirts with the short sleeves that are like, that have like a palm tree on them. But I'm like, I'm going to hang on to my plaids because I know they're going to be cool again one day. And of course I'm bringing this up because what we just saw on your screen, you're shopping for plaids.
I never realized you guys have such a similar sense of style because while Asterios isn't wearing one right now, he wears plaid very, very, very often to the point where when I first started working with Asterios for years, if I was walking around with like my girlfriend in a store, we'd see specifically like red and black plaid is Asterios plaid. I'd point at it, I'd go, Asterios Kokonos.
So yeah, I mean, like for me, I just kind of gravitate towards plaid, and I'm very, very particular about my plaid too. It's very hard to shop for my plaid. So like it has to look a certain way, it has to have a certain pattern and all that stuff. So that's why you'd see eBay listings for plaid, because it's like I have to go through like hundreds and hundreds of different types of plaids before I find one that I'm like, okay, I think I'd look good in that one. Yeah, so. But that's not what I was looking up. I was going to look up the Starfox jacket for you.
No,
to
I want
see
to
how
talk
much
about
it's
plaid
going
now.
for now.
I'm sorry. No, we're done with Starfox now.
We're done with games.
This is a
Plaid
new-
podcast.
New segment. It's called Icy Climbers, and it's about the iciest
hold on one
trip.
second before we
Oh,
move on to
no!
that. I just want to say that
Yes.
the Starfox Super Weekend jacket that you used to own now goes on eBay for $1,200.
And that's
or
it
more.
for our show. Thanks so much for having. I have
He
to
can't
go
go
think
forward
for a
anymore.
while. I have to go hold my hands in my head. I don't like it when because people have bought me plaids. Like, you're the plaid guy. I don't like it when the squares are too small. Are you a similar thing where if it looks too much like grid paper, it don't work for you? She
Right.
says.
If it's too boxy, like if you can just see like you can play checkers on my plaid, then it's not a good plaid.
yeah,
in my
the
opinion.
Minesweeper plaid.
Yeah.
I
You
don't
can
want
see
it.
how it works on this one in particular,
Yes.
you know? So it's got like a nice faded sort of look to it. Yeah.
That's a nice plaid.
Thank you.
Jinjo, you must have considered plaid at one point.
I was just thinking about it, and I don't know. I don't think plaid is like my style. I think solid color is my style. I have, when I try to be fancier, just like a gray, like kind of over shirt, like button up, like Shesez is wearing right now, except it's just solid gray. That's about the fanciest I go. I usually just dress like I am right now with like an anime t-shirt or a video game t-shirt, and I think I'm just going to keep doing that until I decide I'm too old for it and I look like a loser out in public when I do it. But I own like 10 Yu Yu Hakusho t-shirts, so I'm too deep. I'd have to get rid of most of my wardrobe. When I decide I'm too old for it, I'll have to get rid of most of my wardrobe.
Man,
So-
I still haven't decided I'm too old for like graphic tees. Like, I mean, put it on top of the list of things that little girl that worked at Target lambasted me for. Like, she called me old, and then on top of that, I was wearing a Dragon Ball Z t-shirt, and she goes, "Nice shirt, where'd you get it?" And I'm like,
Nice shirt, where'd you get the old people store? Oldie? We watch
I go
Jujutsu
to
Kaisen now. We don't know no Dragon Ball Z. Old fart.
Big, tall,
Dang.
and old. Yeah, no, I got
Why
it
is
from
she so
Walmart.
mean?
I know that. I guarantee she even like tried to rip on me for my my graphic tee as well, and she got the jackpot when I told her it was from Walmart. So
She says.
yeah, I don't know if she actually did that to try to make face, like kind of make up for the mean comment that she clearly said, or if she was once again just doing like a combo roll of just hitting my ego in every spot, you know. So we'll never know.
She
I can go
says
back there and just ask her. Yeah.
She was. She was rizzing you up a little bit.
I was gonna
she
say
says.
maybe she wasn't trying to be mean. Maybe
Yes.
maybe
She was trying to
you
be
know how
ironic.
it's like in middle school. Oh, if that girl's being mean to you, that means she likes you.
It could have been literally like I mean, I think I look old, I guess. So like I don't think that this is the case, but there is a possibility that maybe I looked hippin' with it, you know, and she was just like, you know, hamming up the joke because it would be ironic to say that I looked really old. That's possible.
I think
This
you should
guy
go
can't
back.
accept that maybe a girl liked him.
I think you
That's
need
what
to go
she
back
says.
Never.
and ask for her number. Ask for her number. Grab your copy of Path of Radiance. Go there. Say, check this out. Hand it to her. You
Yeah.
can have it if you go on a date with
Dude.
me. Riz.
Here's a related story to that too. Again,
Yes.
not video game related, I guess, on the video game podcast. But quick story is we drove 4 hours to this party because my buddy really liked this girl, and we get there, you know, after 4 hours of driving, and we're having a great time. He's talking to her like a good majority of the night, and there's just this guy that's sitting in her proximity, but not right next to her or anything. And they're just having a good time. And he's like, he mentions that he's going to sell his car. The guy goes, "Oh, I'm looking for a car." And so they're like, "Wow, that's really cool. Yeah, I might be able to sell you my car. We'll definitely like talk about it. This is how much I want to sell it for." And he's like, "Oh my God, that's my budget." So they work it all out. And then she goes like, "Oh my God, thank you. Yeah. Like we've been needing a car ever since we started dating." And his heart shatters. Yep. And like very soon into the party, he's like, I want to go home. And we're driving
4
home.
hours!
I know. We were supposed to spend the night, and he was like, no, I have to go now. And he told me later that like they were so mad that he wouldn't sell them the car. But I mean, would you? You know?
Jinjo, this is what life was like before those apps with the swiping and all. You had to drive 4 hours and pretend to buy or sell your car. I'm not sure which. Neither is great. This is what it took to get laid, Jinjo.
That story made me sad.
For who?
And I
Everyone?
wasn't even there.
Hey, well, speaking of sadly, we are going to take a commercial break right now. We'll be back with more great content right after this. Sorry, I have to pee.
GameCube. 親指一つでガンガンバトルカプコン vs SNK2 いいよカプコン
Fear has no form. Fear has no name. But now, fear has an address. Castlevania Symphony of the Night for your PlayStation. From Konami.
Welcome back. All right, our next topic here, we're calling it Hunting the Unicorn. Jinjo, maybe you could have like Big Buck Hunter going like, chuk, chuk, and then like a unicorn like going by going like, missed me. Like, you think you could do that?
I don't know if I can edit that much, but I'll put something up. I'll put something up right now. Wow, that was beautiful. That was excellent.
Really great. Look, what's a unicorn? It's a thing that you spend your whole life looking for that you never find. In my generation, we called them snipe hunts. And so I thought it might be fun because there's all these stories of these video games and, oh, they're coming out soon. We've been working on this thing forever. There's rumors of this game that's coming out forever. And the rumors just keep going. The game never comes out. These huge gamer letdown moments that like chip away at our gamer souls, little bits at a time. She says, what's one of the unicorns you've hunted in your life?
Well, there's a couple. So Mother 3, but Earthbound 64 specifically. Like, it would be so cool to just play the unfinished ROM of that game. So technically speaking, it could come out. Someone could find it. Someone could dump it online, you know? So it's not technically like vaporware. I mean, it is, you know, again, it was completely canceled. It eventually got made into Mother 3 on the Game Boy Advance. Very good game. I'm sure that there's a lot of similarities, a lot of parallels between that version and the version that was almost done on the Nintendo 64. But just to see what is different and just to see what all the environments would have looked like or the characters would have looked like or just how different the dialogue would have been in general. But it would have been really cool to get that original ROM of Earthbound 64 and just be able to play that. That's always my number one choice. The other one eventually did come out. It was StarCraft Ghost, and I still got to get around to actually playing it, but they eventually canceled that game as well. It was going to be a console version of StarCraft where you played as one of the ghost characters, the snipers that can like go invisible and stuff. And your goal in the game was to essentially do like sneaking around and sniping like StarCraft critters and characters and stuff. And it got canceled. And then only like last year or 2 years ago, someone actually dumped the ISO of StarCraft Ghost. It was the Xbox version, and they dumped it online so people can now actually play StarCraft Ghost, and that's just like a miracle. Like it took over 20 years for that to happen. So like something that you would think would never happen in your entire life suddenly becomes possible, and you can play it and experience it now for yourself. And I just want the same thing for Earthbound 64. That would be like my number one answer.
I'm surprised
I got a couple of follow-up questions for you on this one, she says.
Okay.
Number one, I remember as a kid hearing that StarCraft Ghost was going to be a first-person shooter. And I remember thinking that was cool. Was it an FPS or was it like that three-quarter overview RTS-y kind of thing?
three-quarter over. I think we're thinking the same thing. It's like the third-person shooter.
Yeah.
Like Gears of War kind of deal where it's like over his shoulder. And, so like you could see the character model and all that stuff.
Yeah, the thing about StarCraft Go, I remember wanting it and being excited it was coming out because, and Jinjo's a huge fan of voice actors and actresses, of how in love I was with like all of the ladies in that game. Being like, Kerrigan, she sounds really pretty. This ghost sounds really pretty. Like all these, like I know this just sound like such a little nerd, but I was like just in love with these like cool, but like you know what I'm talking about with these ladies' voices.
I understand how you feel. There are specific actresses and actors who I love more than the rest. And if I found out they had beautiful performances trapped in a game that never came out, I would be quite upset.
Was now for Earthbound 64, did we know what it was gonna be? Like, was it gonna be a side-scrolling RPG like Earthbound, or was it gonna be in 3 dimensions? Like, what besides it being a sequel? Like, what was the big draw of it supposed to be?
Yeah, so there was a lot of like preview media that existed at the time. So you could see that once again, it's like over the shoulder sort of camera perspective, and you could walk around, and there are elements that you can see that made its way into Mother 3 on the Game Boy Advance, like Tazmily Village was like one of the things that was previewed. And then there's some stuff that never made it into the game. I think there was never a scene where your characters are in a minecart in like going through a tunnel and stuff, but you see that in the preview of Mother 3 or Earthbound 64. So there was definitely a lot of indications of what it was going to be. The battle system was similar to Earthbound's, where it's first person and the enemies on the screen, but the whole background turns psychedelic and all this stuff. And, you know, you go scrolling through the menu. So the gameplay, the combat gameplay was going to be very similar to Earthbound, and how it ended up also in Mother 3 Game Boy Advance. So there was a lot of indication to understand what it was going to look like and what it was going to be, but there is still just so few like preview images, preview videos, and stuff like that. So we were only scratching the surface of what they managed to complete up to that point. I believe like someone had said that like around 80% of the game was finished before they had to cancel it. So, yeah, again, we only got to see a fraction of what's out there somewhere.
When you hear such a huge number like that, like, oh, it was 80% done, it's like, man, we had like 2 minutes of footage of that game for like years and years and years, and we've never had anything more. I was gonna say, I'm surprised we didn't get Earthbound 64 in the huge Nintendo Giga Leak that happened years ago. The very illegal Nintendo Giga Leak, but very fascinating Nintendo Giga Leak. I'm surprised.
That's something we should talk about someday too. Yeah, that's a big topic.
There's so much there. My unicorns are also a lot of Nintendo games that we didn't get in the Giga Leak either. I also have one for the N64, but Asterios, did you have any that you wanted to go first, or?
I'm going to close. I want to hear yours because, again, you guys have all this cool information. Like, I did not know there was a, quote, Giga Leak. So, like, I'm looking forward to hearing about that eventually.
I'll have to make a little write-up about, like, oh, this was in the Giga Leak and this was in the Giga Leak. I mean, one of the biggest things everyone remembers is we found Luigi in Super Mario 64 in the Giga Leak.
Yep.
Stuff like that. We have the source code to Super Mario 64, so now we can port it to everything imaginable. Very illegal, but it is fascinating. But enough about the Giga Leak. Did you have anything else you want to talk about, Shesez, or should I discuss my unicorns?
I think I covered the two big things. I don't think that there's anything else that was like announced and it was like, how dare you? Because I can think of games, but they're not as... Did I misspeak? I don't know.
No,
but like,
it's just you said, how dare you?
Because it's like, it's like, look, I heard there was supposed to be Duke Nukem, and it didn't, and then it did, and it was mid.
Yeah.
Like, the how dare you is what is the emotion we're chasing here.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. So, like, for me, it's definitely, like, those two games in particular. Those ones, like... I was really, really excited for them, and I really wanted them to come out. And for whatever reason, they chose to shutter both those games. So, yeah, bummer. Yeah, but we'll move on to you, man. What are you wishing that came out that never did?
I don't
Yeah,
think
Jinjo.
I don't think I have any that were announced in my lifetime and then canceled in my lifetime. These are all games that I know were announced and then never came out, or they came out in a different form. So I have, my first one is very similar to Earthbound 64 in a way, and that's the original Kirby Air Ride on the Nintendo 64, Kirby's Air Ride, which Kirby Air Ride for the GameCube is like one of my childhood games. I used to play with my brother all the time. Like, I have so many good memories of playing that game. It was initially announced for the Nintendo 64, and it looked completely different. It looked almost like Snowboard Kids or something, where you just seemed to be riding down slope and, like, dodging obstacles. So, the GameCube version we got is almost certainly better than what was initially planned for the Nintendo 64, but I would always have loved to see more than the 1 minute of footage that we have of Kirby's Air Ride for the Nintendo 64. And then I also have another Kirby game. Kirby has a lot of canceled games. He probably has the most insane history in Nintendo of having so many canceled games, because there's ones that I'm not going to even like bring up. But the other one is, I've said before, I think, the GameCube is like my favorite console of all time. And I always love anything GameCube. And there was never like a real mainline Kirby game on the GameCube. But there was supposed to be one under the working title just Kirby Adventure, but no relation to the NES game. And we also have like 1 minute of footage of that. And it looks like they basically just kind of reworked it into Return to Dreamland for the Wii years and years later. But the GameCube's the GameCube, and I would have loved to see Kirby on the GameCube. It looks like there's like a footage of them in a factory area, and it looks like Kirby has some like enemies with him, maybe. So
That he's befriended, you mean?
yeah, so I think it would have been more like Kirby Superstar, and it wouldn't have had like a playable Meta Knight and King Deity like Return to Dreamland eventually did. But yeah, that one's never been found. I don't really have hope of anyone finding that one. And then to get away from Nintendo, I didn't expect to talk about this game today, but I actually have the perfect game behind me. Every episode I hide in my cat's little circle here, just a random game. I gotta reach it. Okay. And in this episode, I just randomly picked Capcom Fighting Evolution. But this game only exists because they canceled another game that was way more interesting. So Capcom was making a 3D game called Capcom Fighting All-Stars. So it would have been a 3D fighter, and it would have just been like a Capcom versus Capcom game. So no Marvel characters, nothing. It would have just been Capcom characters from all around. And they made like some original characters just for this game. And apparently there's rumors that Kyo from like King of Fighters was going to be a guest character in it. And it was crazy. They did like one of those, whenever they make an arcade game, they don't do this anymore, obviously, but back when they made arcade games, they would have test locations where they set up a cabinet and they would like, people would play it and they give feedback. So they did that for Capcom Fighting All-Stars, and the feedback was, this game sucks. So Capcom was like, well, and then and then the team that was working on it apparently tried to like make it not suck, but Capcom was like, no. And they were like, well, we already spent so much money on it, we have to salvage. What are these people going to work on now? And they're like, oh, let's just asset flip to the extreme, just throw every asset we have and make this game on a budget of like $50,000 or something. And then we got Capcom Fighting Evolution, which is so bad people say it's like it ended the era of 3D fighters, or like classic Capcom fighters. I mean, it ended that era. I've played it. It's not terrible. I actually played it yesterday with Shesez. It's not terrible. It's a little janky. It's not great. But I would have rather seen what Capcom Fighting All-Stars was like. And then my last unicorn, because I have 4, because I have so many. The last one I could think of right off the top of my dome is this game based on the hit anime that I think everyone in this call has seen, Trigun. Oh, yeah. They were going to make a PS2 game called Trigun The Planet Gunsmoke. They announced it. They showed like 15 seconds of footage of it at like E3 2002. Nothing. Disappeared from history. But a couple years later, the same team that was making it, they came out with this completely different third-person shooter that had art by the guy that made Trigun called Gungrave. So, Gungrave's cool. I haven't played it, but it looks really cool. But I would have liked to see what an actual Trigun game would have been like. But it's interesting they just molded it into something completely new instead of just making a Trigun game. So I wonder what the circumstances behind that were. I have no idea how much they had done on the Trigun PS2 game, but they just turned it into Gungrave.
She says, I want to hear your thoughts on some of the stuff that Jinjo was saying. Like, do you know the Kirby games you were talking about? Were you super into Kirby? Were you waiting for this Trigun game? I mean, it's just, you guys have such similar experiences.
I don't know anything about any of this.
Wow.
I mean, he mentioned the fighting game a little bit, like when we hung out the other day, but he didn't mention that it was play tested and stuff. So that was kind of like a new story for me. And I wonder if somebody has like the board,
the
from the
board,
arcade game somewhere, and like if they can upload it.
Out of the 4 games I mentioned, I feel like Capcom Fighting All-Stars is the one that's most likely to just show up randomly, because there's multiple games that we have that were arcade games that were canceled, and then they just show up. They usually show up at Galloping Ghost Arcade, the biggest arcade in the world.
Yeah.
That I visited twice. So like, me and Shesez have played before. Primal Rage 2 is one of those games that was canceled right when it was almost done. They have it at Galloping Ghost. They have another one there. Like, I know they have another canceled fighting game or something. I can't remember what it is. But they don't have Capcom Fighting All-Stars. So if anyone finds it, it's going to be the guy that runs that store.
Probably. I actually do remember one more game that I could add to this discussion. It's Mega Man Universe. So Mega Man Universe came out during the 360 PlayStation 3 era, and it was supposed to be like a Mega Man Mario Maker kind of game where you could like make stages, share it with other people, and then you could get various different types of Mega Men, where you could have like 8-bit Mega Man, but you could also have like line art Mega Man, like box art Mega Man, or bad box art Mega Man, or even Ryu from Street Fighter, all of it. I think Blanca was going to be one, and like, I don't know how that would have worked, but still, like, the whole idea was that you have all these different types of characters you could choose from, and they would all have different abilities and like, different jumping heights or what they shoot out and everything. And it looked great. And I actually played this game. No joke.
How?
It was at New York.
That thing?
I guess so. It was at New York Comic-Con. And like, I got a press badge to like go and like, be there and like cover the event and all this stuff. And one of the games that was on display that you could play was Mega Man Universe. So I actually got to play Mega Man Universe before it got canceled. And I'm very disappointed by that, because I love me some old school like Mega Man gameplay. So the fact that like I could have played as like line art Mega Man and going through all these Mega Man stages and all that, like, it's so disappointing that never came out. And I actually, for the longest time, had merch from that game as well. Arthur from Ghosts and Goblins, the guy in the armor that would throw the lance, he was going to be in the game too. And so as a bonus for people that played the demo, they gave away this inflatable lance from Ghosts and Goblins with the Mega Man Universe logo on it. And so I had that for years, but I don't think it ever like accrued value on eBay or anything. So I eventually, because I moved from place to place, I eventually threw it out. So it's gone now. But yeah,
that's sad.
So I even had merch from this canceled game, which is wild. I was also there, like, even though I'm not super excited about it, I was there for the day. It was at PAX East that the creator of Mega Man said in front of a whole group of people, we're working on Mega Man Legends 3.
I was going to say, erupted. Do you like Mega Man Legends? Are you heartbroken that Legends 3 was canceled?
Not yet. I mean, maybe one day I'll play 1 and 2, and then I'll be heartbroken that, Legends 3 didn't come out. But, like, I was not particularly heartbroken or excited when it got announced. I was just like, oh, cool, they announced a game here, But, like, that was about the extent of my excitement for that.
I think I don't think it ever came out, but they were going to put, like, a free demo on the eShop to gauge interest. Yeah. But I think they canceled the demo.
Here's the saddest thing about that was that the fans they did not turn up for it, and that's why it got canceled. So like the whole campaign behind it was, we're going to give you step by step what we're working on, when we're working on it, and like, you know, we need your support. We need you to be involved and tell us what you think we should put in the game and all this stuff. And the turnout for that campaign was really, really low. And so executives at Capcom were like, you know, that is very concerning. Like nobody's like actually, nobody seems to actually want to participate in this whole thing that you got going on. I think we're going to cancel this. And that's basically how it went down. So yeah, it's your fault, fans. There's not enough of you.
Yeah, exactly. You should have
Capcom
been...
had concerns and you validated that concern. So, you know,
You should have made more people's lives a living hell, fans. This is on you for not harassing people.
Exactly.
It's weird to hear you guys tell these stories because you both told a similar thing, which is like Capcom tried something, fan reaction wasn't great, so they pulled it. It's like in the modern era, don't these giant companies just kind of like not listen to or care what gamers want at all? I feel like that is like the current meme. It's so weird to think about Capcom being like, no, we respect our audience and listen to them.
To a huge degree, I feel like Capcom's one of the best companies for this. They do keep their ear to the ground and they're listening to what fans want. And if it's financially feasible, you oftentimes see the things that fans are pining for. So like when fans are like, "Wow, we haven't had a Phoenix Wright game in a while." Boom, we get a Phoenix Wright game. Or it's like, what happened to like classic Dante from Devil May Cry? I like him. I hate this new like reboot thing that they decided to do. Well, boom, they give you Devil May Cry 5 with like, you know, like old school Dante. And like it's they every once in a while they could just focus on Resident Evil and Monster Hunter for the rest of their days and just call it a day. But like instead they're like, okay, we got all this success, let's pull in something that we haven't seen in a while. Like let's do a Mega Man 11, even though that one of all things is like probably the least loved franchise, which is really weird. It's like having your own Mario and kind of saying like, nah, we're not going to put out Mario for the next 10 years, you know? So I think that Capcom's a bit weird about that. But like, yeah, we see franchises pulled back in every once in a while. They love to kind of pull from the well just to see if it'll stick in this like current generation or whatever. So I really admire Capcom for that. But
I think
I guess these early day Capcom, what's up?
I think they're definitely in like another golden era right now with all these, like even... They're not making new games as much, but they're bringing back like everything in collections. Like everything's on modern consoles now. You can play every single Phoenix Wright game on your Switch. You can play when Capcom Fighting Collection 2 comes out. You can play like every single Capcom fighter that anyone has ever cared about on modern consoles, except maybe Street Fighter 4. But Capcom Fighting Collection 3, guys, give them time. But like even like. I'm eternally shocked that they got MVCI out the door and then it did terrible, but they still got out the door. And now they've once again convinced Disney, please, I know you want to screw us over on this contract. Let us make an MVC collection. How did they do that? How did they get that out the door? Because my impression is Disney's always going to try to screw them over on everything. Because you hear these crazy stories like, oh yeah, Shuma Gorath, who's been in like every single Capcom Marvel fighting game. Disney didn't want him in Marvel vs. Capcom 3 just because he wasn't in the MCU. And then,
well, he came in as DLC.
Yeah, he did come back. They did let him in. But it's like, Capcom is like, I feel like a lesser company wouldn't fight Disney and they just do everything Disney says exactly. But at least for like MVC 3 they fought.
Yeah, I feel like with Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite, they
that's when they gave
that
up.
One was Disney Disney led. And it was terrible. Like I hated the Disney. Wow. Yeah, the Marvel roster. It was pretty bad. Like, that's kind of what deterred me. It was that and the art style deterred me from actually picking that game up.
Yeah.
For what I would otherwise pick up.
How can I play an MVC game without Cyclops in it?
It's weird.
Wait, really? Cyclops wasn't in this game?
Yeah, there was no X-Men
Not just
in
Cyclops,
MVCI.
no X-Men character whatsoever.
Yeah.
So no Wolverine, you know?
Yeah,
That's
because
all
Disney
I
didn't have the rights to the X-Men
X-Men,
movies.
'cause
Fox
Fox
still did. So they were like, we don't want to promote a product that we don't own the movie rights for. So it's like, oh, okay. But now I think that's probably why MVC Collection was allowed to happen as opposed to MVCI being a horrible showing, is that now Disney has monopolized Marvel even further, and they own almost all the movie rights. Sony's still gripping as hard as they can on to Kraven the Hunter. But sooner or later, Disney's going to wrap their claws around him, and they're going to take Madam Web right from underneath Sony. It's only a matter of time, because they got to Fox. So now we were allowed to have MVC2 again.
It's just so funny because I'm an outsider to these fighting games. I would play that Marvel versus Capcom game because it was like, if I push these buttons enough, Cyclops' eye beam will take up half the screen. Or Rogue, who is a very cool character, especially a young man. Like, Rogue is doing stuff, and there's Sentinels. Like, the only things I remember, I know Spider-Man's in it technically. The only thing I remember is these X-Men.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were a big
Venom.
draw.
What'd you say? She says sorry.
Yeah, I was just saying that they're a big draw, and he's right. Like, Venom was another good draw too. Like, I don't know, like the roster for like something
I'm so sorry. She says you are. We just need to get
They're
that line
killing-
again because
They're
there's some
killing his
interference.
internet. They're killing him.
Yeah,
They're
yeah, I
killing
can
the
see it
poor
like
guy.
going in and out,
He's a
like
dad.
it's turning red and green on my end.
His
so.
life's not busy enough.
Maybe we should end the episode. They're trying to kill him.
What do they do?
I don't
They're
know.
trying
It's kind of hard to. It's kind of hard to film when they're trying to kill him.
They're trying to silence him.
They're trying to silence him.
Because
He
he
said
spoke
too much
the
about
truth.
Earthbound 64. We talked about the Giga League too much. Nintendo's coming. They came for him first. Then they're gonna come for me, and then they're gonna come for you, and then they're gonna come for the viewer.
Well, can you hear me now?
Now he's back. He's back. He fought them off and he
Hey!
lived.
Yeah, geez, I really got to talk to my internet people. They need to bring someone out here so that I can get this fixed. Because every time I do uploading stuff like a stream or I guess now a podcast, like they always like to yank the cord on my internet. So I got to see if there's like a hardware issue. I've looked it up. Apparently they don't actually throttle your internet. It has something to do with how good your connection is to the internet or something. So we'll see. I'll work on it. But yeah, I'm back.
Are you sure
So-
you're not just torrenting all of Hamtaro in the background? Are you sure? Did you turn
All
off
of
the? Are you
Hamtaro.
seeding Hamtaro?
Yeah, are you seeding
Hamtaro?
Hamtaro?
Seething
what?
Hamtaro?
Oh, you don't know.
Because
He
he
doesn't know
likes
about
sunflower
torrenting.
seeds. Oh, okay.
What?
Well, look. I'll close this. I'll stop confusing She Says about Hamtaro, and I'll close this up. Like, I'm a kid. I play Mario 1.
You're not
and
a
I
kid
love
no
it.
more.
Well,
Don't say
when
the
I
sentence,
was
I'm a kid.
No.
Let's
no,
bring
you're right.
Asterios to Target and see what the lady says.
Go up to her.
I'm a kid.
Bro,
You
no,
guys
you're
have no
not.
idea how you have any idea how excited I am that the new AirPods are also hearing aids? And this is not a joke. I'm genuinely excited about that. But I'm a kid. I play Mario. It's great. Mario. You watch the Super Mario Brothers Super Show. Mario, love this guy. And then it's like, where's Mario 2? And eventually,
Are you out of New York? I'm sorry, I got to ask that real quick.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could tell.
Right, because I'm saying
You're
it. You
saying
guys always
Mario.
think I say it wrong.
I wasn't going to
all you New
acknowledge it.
Yorkers-
But now that you said it like 10 times in a row, I was like, something's
Mario.
going to snap. The people in the comments are going to be like, yo, why does this guy
Mario.
say Mario? No one pronounces it like that. It's Mario. Like, everyone says Mario. What's wrong with this Asterios Coconuts guy? Does he have a mental illness? Mario, bro.
No, it's just New Yorker colloquialism. That's all it is, folks. They all say
Mario.
Mario.
You guys don't know about my favorite brothers, Mario and Luigi Mario.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, man.
Eventually-
You were on to something.
No,
What were you saying?
please. No, I don't. But like, look, Mario Brothers 2.
Oh, he did
Eventually,
it.
I unwrap it on Christmas. I put it in the thing, and I'm really confused. Especially when I got to like the second level, and I duck down in a vase, and there's like a mask on the wall, and I'm like, well, what's going on down here? Okay, I guess there's power-ups or something down here, and then the mask starts to flash, and starts chasing me, and I'm like, I gotta get the hell out of this vase. I climb up this ladder. I climb up the ladder. I'm like, okay, I'm out of here. All right, I guess he likes radishes now. Okay, and then there are bigger and smaller radishes. Okay. All right, there's a potion here. And then from my left, that mask I thought I escaped comes at me, and I scream. And I yank the controller, and I pull the entire Nintendo out of the wall, and I run. That mechanic had I suppose you kids today would call it the nemesis mechanic. Did not exist in games. If you left a room, you were safe. It wouldn't chase you to the other room.
Not Mario 2.
Mario 2.
Not that Mario. Not that Mario 2.
It was so scary. And then I'm like, and then I eventually I remember I'm fighting Wart at the end, and I'm doing very badly, and I have to pause the game. And I remember my aunt putting her head on my chest, listening to my heart and going Asterios, your heart is beating really, really fast. We need to get you some water. The game will be here when you get back. I'm having such a panic attack. Because the other thing, kids, is that, we didn't, if you made it all the way to Wart and you failed, you had to play the whole game over. There weren't, save states or codes or whatever. And I finally beat the thing, and then it turns out it's a dream, and I'm just this is all so weird. And then eventually I get old, and they're like, no, there was going to be a different Mario Brothers 2. And we're going to release it now, but we're going to call it Mario Brothers 2 The Lost Levels. And I start playing it, and it's not great. And I'm like, this is the thing that I've been waiting for all my life? They gave me a fake reskin thing, and you learn eventually that it's Doki Doki whatever. And and so it's just, we were all dreaming of Mario 2. When we finally got it, none of us finished it. We were all so disappointed by this Lost Levels thing. Shesez, did you have a similar feeling and reaction to all of this?
I made a whole video on it.
Well, there you go.
I had a whole video that documented every conceivable difference between the original Mario 2 and Doki Doki Panic. And, part of that is, being very aware of the fact that Lost Levels, that was the original Mario 2. So the way the story goes with that, Asterios, is that I think it's Howard Todd is the name of the guy. He was the liaison for Nintendo of America and Nintendo Japan. And Nintendo Japan sends over the Lost Levels and asks him to try it out and to give some feedback. And he plays it. He's having a miserable time with it. And so he gives the feedback. He's
Average experience.
Yeah, and he goes this might be a kind of a bit of a strange downturn for the series for some people. They're expecting something bigger and more advanced for a Mario 2, but this is just sort of more levels and stuff. And so that's his nice way of putting it. And so Miyamoto gets this feedback and goes well, what about this game? Does this game seem different enough to you? And he sends over Doki Doki Panic, and he goes yeah, this is very different. And so he was yeah, well, we might be able to work with that. And so they reskinned all the characters into Mario characters. And so now it's known as Mario 2 for us. And they eventually got that game, that version of that game in Japan as well. And they call it Super Mario USA. So, yeah. So there is there's an original port of that exact same one that we got, but Japan got it as well. And just the title screen just says Super Mario Brothers USA or something like that. So, yeah.
Very interesting.
That's crazy. I remember as a kid being I do like that Peach can fly.
Yeah, it's cool.
Because because Jinjo, this was another thing. Like, I know we got to wrap up soon, but like, when eventually Super Mario Brothers 3 came out, and they were like, Mario can fly now. He can turn into a raccoon, and he can touch, and he can fly. It was a really big deal. I don't know why it was such a big deal that he could fly. And then when they were like, Super Mario World is coming out, and now there's no more weird P meter thing. He can just keep flying. It was like even more better flying. Like this, like it was a big deal to us, Jinjo.
And then Super Mario 64 comes out, and everyone saw the wing cap, and it was like that gif of Vince McMahon. His eyes roll back in his head, and he falls out of his seat. I will say about Super Mario Bros. 2, I have never spent a significant amount of time with it, but it is genius that Miyamoto came up with that, where he was like, if we reskin this game and make it Mario, then it's close enough. I am forever grateful to Mario 2 for making the Shy Guys a Mario character. Because if I wasn't LimeJinjo, I would be Light Blue Shy Guy. That would be my screen name. I love the Shy Guys. I always pick Shy Guy in like Mario Kart and stuff. I love Shy Guy. He's the GOAT. That's what I would have to say. He's the GOAT.
That's why we get along so well, because I'm a shy guy. But
You're both
that was a
shy
stupid
guys.
ass joke. Sorry.
I'm cutting that one out. I'm cutting that one out.
Bleep out that whole joke. Bleep out that whole joke.
My fiance, whenever she sees those guys, she's like, who are those guys with the masks? And I'm like, they're Shy Guys. And she's like, are they like the ghost where like if you turn towards them, they get scared? And I'm like, no, they are, but they weren't before.
They kind of just like are like, and they just like walk around. I don't know. They play tennis sometimes, I guess.
Yes.
That's Shy Guy.
I've seen art of them now covering their face, and it's like, we finally did make them shy. But originally it was just like a name. They were actually not shy. They would run right at you. They were very forward about wanting to kill you.
And most Shy Guys, when you pick them, if you were to pick a Shy Guy in Mario Kart, he'd be like, "Oh, you picked me, huh?"
Okay.
But when you pick Shy Guy,
Really?
when you pick Shy Guy in Mario Kart, he's like, "Meh," and he shakes his hands and he jumps up in the cart.
Well,
not very shy, if I'd have to say so myself.
It was a weird localization choice, because in Japan they called them hey-hos, which I can't imagine why they would change that, right?
That kind of
Say it
sounds
with
like
me, hey-ho, so like that's a great name for a character.
That kind of sounds like a Hostess product, like a Twinkie
Yeah, you think
variant.
so, huh?
Yeah,
It sounds like something I'd hear someone say on Main Street, but but like, that's why, like, if you listen sometimes, the Shy Guy will actually say, hey ho. Ha ho. And that's why. Yep. Because it's actually saying its own name for its Japanese name.
I didn't know that. I didn't know that's what he was trying to say, because it doesn't sound like that to me at all.
Man, this podcast. This podcast just starts turning into random bits of trivia podcast.
Did you know gaming, guys?
Yeah,
Exactly.
we're taking the jobs.
That's all
Hold on, let me get
I just
the
want more
transcript
knowledge.
out for Did You Know Gaming real quick. All right.
Did you know
so
gaming?
did you
Except we
also
did no research. We did no research, and we can't fact check anything.
Yeah. We're not official. We can get away with being wrong about some things. This is a podcast. Yeah. No, but like, yeah, they do. There's some instances in some games where the Shy Guy will say "hey ho," and it's because it's saying its own name.
Very
from the
rude
Japan
of him.
version. Yeah.
Well, hey,
Kind of narcissistic,
ho.
if you ask me.
Well, hey ho, let's go. It's time to wrap up the show. Thank you guys so much for listening. She says, I'm going to turn it over to you to say goodbye to. I want to hear you do the goodbye thing.
All right, you ready? Thank you guys so much for watching the video game podcast. I hope you enjoyed your time with us. I was once again Shesez, Asterios, and LimeJinjo, all hitting you up on the airwaves, giving you some time to just sit back and relax and listen to a bunch of nerds nerd out over video games. So I hope you enjoyed it. Many more episodes to come. So if you're listening to this on YouTube, be sure to hit subscribe. Maybe leave a comment so we can kind of rise up in the algorithm. Podcasts are really hard to get off the ground. So if you could, that would be our way of saying thank you for listening to us, and maybe your way of saying thank you to us for providing the video. So thank you again so much, and we'll hit you again soon with more topics that we have lined up. So take care and have a good day. Say bye, guys.
If you crash your car while listening to this, the episode will keep playing, and the ambulance might find you with this episode playing in the background. Goodbye.